Buckle in, folks. This is a long play. This is an evening of repairs. It's an hour long, and I had audio problems, human error, and so I'll be doing some audio over commentary on the repairs. The only camera that had audio was this camera, and my microscope mic was muted. So, you know what? I think you're going to enjoy this video because instead of thinking of what to say in the moment, you get to hear an afterthought. Anyways, enjoy the video. It's about an hour long. Okay, welcome back, everyone. It's Monday night. I didn't come in to work during the business day, and I don't too much feel like doing it tomorrow. So I come and I'll work when no one else is here and no distractions, no nothing. And I quite enjoy that sometimes. So I got an array of customer repairs to get done today. I do repairs both for store inventory and for customers that pay us. And we'll see how many of them I record tonight. First up is a Nintendo Switch Lite, where the customer jammed the SD card in upside down and just kept pushing it in until it was in there really good. And we quoted them a low end and a high end for repair. Low end being if we could get it out and the card reader's not damaged, and a high end if the card reader's damaged and we need to replace it. And they said they only wanted to pay the low end and not the high end. So I'm not sure what happened with my staff there, but apparently I'm expected to work on it, and if the low end doesn't work out, then I'll be doing it for free, or I would be doing the more expensive repair at the low end price. I don't even get it. But let's move forward with taking this out. We'll see what we can accomplish. So you can see the SD card's jammed in there pretty good, and there's scratch marks from someone trying to remove it. And I'm probably doing the same thing here that someone else tried to do, and it's futile. I'm not going to get this out. If I were to jab the tweezers into it, then I would damage it for sure. So I'm going to have to take a different approach here. So I'm going to take the back cover off and try to get it from the inside where there's exposed slots on the SD card reader slot. I'm going to get this open. We'll jump right back. Okay, we got this open. So now with the cover off, I can start using the tweezers to try and poke in and shove it out. Ultimately, it was kind of a slow process, and I decided to speed up this part of the video. It's nothing too exciting there. Eventually, I get it out enough that I decide I can grab it with a different tool from the end and pull it out. And so that's what I do. I've got some mini clamping forceps. So now with the forceps, I'm easily able to grab that out and see what kind of card it is. It's an Amazon Basics card. I want to tell you right now, I've seen trouble with every brand of memory card for the Switches except for the officially licensed brand SanDisk, which is made by Western Digital. I only recommend using SanDisk cards, licensed or not. All the other brands are junk. So here I'm testing to see if this SD card reader is salvageable, and the mechanism that keeps the card locked in is damaged, and clearly that's not going to work. So I decided that I'm going to have to replace this, and I'm trying to decide if I should do it board in or board out. But this is my donor board. Instead of using a brand new part, I'm just grabbing one off a donor board, and I'm going to heat it from underneath. It's really easy to do when it's heated from underneath. Probably used around 400 degrees. With the donor board, I don't really care too much about how much heat I use, but essentially I just blast heat on it until it's going to remove, and it's got to be getting pretty close here. I'm just kind of feeling around, and I mean, it should be coming off here any second. Let's try and pull that off now. Oh, and it's hung on by that corner. I probably moved the heat gun a little bit. There it goes. So then I set that part aside, and probably I should just take the board out of there, because using low melt, although possible, and I've done it before, is going to take a lot of time, and it's probably just worth it to take the board out, spend the time doing that, making a nice clean job. I'm going to disassemble. Okay, I got the board out. I'm going to prep it here. I'm thinking I should use a board holder, so let's rig up a board holder. That'll do. Okay, I'm gonna adjust the height here. And I'm gonna get this set up. All right, let's solder. So this is going to be pretty boring because you just watched me take one off. So here I am taking it off the board which I'm working on, and I'm trying to decide at this point how much I should charge the customer, because they didn't want to pay for replacement. But getting the card out, I'm already, invested in the project. But in any case, when I solder on a new part, sometimes I leave the original solder, sometimes I clean it off and put leaded solder on. In this case, I'm going to clean it off and put leaded solder on. But, I'm kind of thinking, I wonder if anyone noticed. Probably not. I've lost 23 pounds this year. I should lose 50 by the end of the year because I didn't start in January. But you probably can't tell yet. The first 23 pounds are not going to show much, but I've been feeling better. I really think I've been doing, trying to walk most days, but at least measuring my activity. And I've been feeling better overall, like my whole body. I've also been going to the chiropractor once a week to straighten out some rib problems, and I'm hungry all the time because I'm trying to eat 1,000 calories or less every day. They say that you should at least eat 12 to 1,500, but I actually did this before. Back in 2018, I lost 90 pounds, and then I gained it all back because I didn't change my lifestyle. Once I stopped dieting, I just went back to eating M&Ms and brownies and cookies and eating to my heart's content, not paying attention to my consumption. So anyway, here's the donor part going back on. Heating from underneath with leaded solder makes it really easy to place it. Once I get that in position, I'm going to remove the heat, and I'm going to flux up the joints and reflow them just to make sure everything's got a solid connection. So you'll have an opportunity to see me do that. But back to what I was saying about losing weight and health. I mean, it sucks to be so hungry while you're losing weight, but I don't know. It took me years to gain it all back. It was years of a lot of enjoyable eating. I don't know what the trade-off is. I mean, I do feel better physically when I'm within a certain weight range, and I think I probably should have, started to try and lose weight before I got as heavy as I became again. I don't mind the idea of fluctuating between great fit weight and being a little bit heavy, but there comes a point where
you're developing sleep apnea, you're developing, cholesterol and all these things that are bad for your heart, and then you decide you want to live longer, so you get motivated to lose weight again. But probably should, after I lose the weight this time, try to maintain it within a healthier range. Anyways, this part is now properly installed, and I'm just kind of cleaning up some flux residue, and then I get to, test it out, see if the card goes in smoothly and all that. Actually, I already tested if a card goes into that slot properly, but I mean, you never really know with the donor part if it's going to work. Oh, here I'm showing a different aftermarket card reader, which those will work. They just don't align properly, but I have used them.
And I'm going to put it back together, and we'll go to the moment of truth and see if this works. Okay, I've got this most of the way back together, and for those wondering how much I'm going to charge, or low end, high end, without contacting the customer, I'm going to go somewhere in the middle. And I think you can't disrespect people's time. Time costs money. They can't expect me to do work on it for free and then say, oh, it's going to be the more expensive repair, so all the time I put into it doesn't cost anything. That's not how it works. And I've actually been running into this recently. We had someone bring in a switch. It took me 15 minutes of troubleshooting to figure out what the problem was and what I believe the solution was going to be, and then I gave them an estimate on price, and they didn't want to do it. My employee comes back and says they don't want to do it. I said, what are they doing here? Go ask them why they brought it in. And so he did, and they literally said, we just wanted you to tell us what was wrong with it so that we could try to fix it ourselves. Like, no, that is a disrespect to people's time. Again, early on Saturday, I was someone brought in an original Xbox, said there's no video output. And not that this took a lot of time, but I hook it up to my testing TV and I test their cables and I get nothing. I test my cables and I get something, and I offer to sell them some cables, and they said, oh, I could get them cheaper on eBay. Excuse me? Like, what do I gotta... I'm not asking anything to test your console. I just buy the damn AV cords from me. And they'd rather go save $2, buy them on eBay. But, they didn't value their time to drive down here so that they could save $2. They didn't value my time. There's a real problem with this. It's a disconnect between people and the value of other people's time. Anyway, I digress. Let's jump under here and see what's going on.
So, once I got the system on, I was getting an error message that said to put the SD card in with the system off. I never actually seen that message before. Usually you can put the SD card in while it's on, and then it'll detect it and just restart. This actually threw me for a bit of a loop, and I thought maybe they had shorted out something else with the system, and that it just wasn't gonna work. I was sitting there trying to figure it out, turning off the system, turning it on again, and then it's telling me it can't access the SD card, and I'm feeling a little bit pissed off here because I shouldn't have even worked on this device, and I'm fearful that it's going to end up being a no fix. And anytime you run into a no fix, you feel like you just wasted your time. And
I'm sure there's a solution for this beyond just the damaged card reader. Clearly something got shorted out, but I'm not doing it because these people said they didn't want to pay the higher end, and I can't justify spending my time for a lower payout. They don't want it to be working. Then that's their prerogative. I I shouldn't have worked on it. And this is a lesson I teach myself, is if someone doesn't agree to the full quote, then don't work on it. Because if it's not the simple solution, and part of you knows it's not, that's why you have the range, then I'm just not going to spend time working on it. So that was unfortunately a stupid waste of time. I shouldn't have worked on it at all. Getting the card out was one thing, and after that, once their card reader was broken, I should have just said, you know what, that's it for them. So I'm going to move on to the next one. That one's a no fix. Whoa, slow down. I went ahead and followed the on-screen instructions. I normally wouldn't do that. And it said put the SD card in before you restart it. And I restarted it, and now it's saying this micro SD card is being used with another Nintendo Switch. Here, I'll show you.
Here, this is normal, actually. When you put an SD card in and it reads it, it tells you, you can't transfer data from another Switch, and so it needs to wipe it. And so all of a sudden, I feel like I'm making progress on this, and that's where, sometimes you just should give up, and other times it pays off that it's that you put in a little bit more effort, because I already did all the hard work. Now it's just troubleshooting the system software, and you can see I have an accessible SD card. And so next I decided I would try and see if their SD card would work following the same process, and then it turned out not to. And I'm just gonna skip over that part where I kind of walk you through this, since there's no audio. But ultimately their SD card was damaged, but mine worked fine, and I considered the system to be fixed.
I am going to charge them, and hopefully I'll sell them a SD card as well, because they're going to need one. I'm not even going to give them back their broken one, because I don't want it to break their system. Alright, now we're on to the next repair. Alright, the next one is, it's another Nintendo Switch and SD card reader. Alright, let's take a gander here. This says SD card has been removed. The console will now turn off. Okay. Let's maybe they got a faulty card. Let's see. Gonna go back to my old faithful. Okay. Turning it back on. Let's go overhead. Don't bring your system in for service with parental codes on it. I mean, how am I supposed to use the damn thing? Okay. Maybe... Okay, so it goes into sleep mode. Maybe... I'm not a magician. Okay. Disabled parental controls. Let's... I'm not one to make their... Okay, I want to click on help. Alright, I'm just going to reset the parental controls. They can reset it up when they're done with it. Give me just a second.
Okay, so I'll spare you the details of what happened on this one. After getting it unlocked and I can diagnose it properly, it worked properly with our card but not their card. And again, their card was not a SanDisk, and I don't know what. I just cleaned it with the fiberglass pen and put it back in, formatted it. Whatever data they had on there is gone, and that's tough for them. And I'm going to charge them the base fee for using my time, even if though it was a simple fix. You got to pay for people's time.
I'm thinking it's just going to be a faulty SD card. Oh, the things that people don't even try. Okay, next here we have an original Xbox. Fun decals. Paper says stuck disk drive. Alright, let's figure that out real quick. Where's my power cord? Okay, power in. I can hear it trying to open. Usually you just gotta smack it a little bit. Wow. That one's not opening. Huh. Alright, I'm gonna have to open it up. I'll be right back. Okay, I got the drive out, and someone's already been in here. You can see that warranty sticker's been voided, but no matter. Let's get in there ourselves. I'm at this point. I'm thinking it's just a broken drive belt. But might not be. You never really know until you get in there. Okay. We have a game disc in there. Oh. What is going on here? Okay, gotta show you what I'm looking at. So, now that I got this open, I'm able to find out what the problem is, and although I'm off camera a little bit, the disc was stuck to the hub, and I had already broken it free here, but essentially when you hit the eject button, the hub lowers from the disc so that it's not in the way for the tray to open, but the disc was literally stuck to the hub, and so the hub couldn't lower, and therefore the drive tray couldn't open. And so the solution here is going to be to clean the hub and clean the gunk off the disc. While I have it out, I do a complimentary disc repair for the customer, and I clean the hub and I clean the disc, and that's everything that's taken place during this segment of the video. Okay, press the button. Oh, I guess I should plug it in first. Sometimes a little bit on the stupid end. What'd I tell you? So the remedy here is going to be cleaning. I'll replace the drive belt while I'm at it, because now that we had to open it, the customer's paying the higher end fee. So let's unplug and do some cleaning here. I think I'm going to throw their scratched up disc in my disc repair machine as a courtesy. So what you actually see me do here is the cleaning. I also replaced the drive belt. Drive belts are known for stretching out over time, and you can actually replace them without taking it all apart by ejecting the tray if you're able to eject it, and then just using those forceps to replace the drive belt. I've done it so many times I don't even think it's easier to do it with it open. But so long as I was servicing the drive, I figure of course I'm going to clean the drive belt.
And there's the cleaning with the rubbing alcohol. Whatever sticky substance was on the disc got on the hub, and I definitely wanted to make sure that that sticky crap was off of there. I hope that I got it all off, because when I was Q-tipping the hub ring on the disc, it was like soda or something. I mean, it was crazy how difficult it was to get off. But ultimately, I also decided to clean the tray in case there was any sticky stuff on there, because when I'm done servicing this, I definitely don't want the disc to prevent the hub from lowering again. And so I took some time to clean this up and make sure that the job was done correctly. I also decided to swab the laser lens since it was open. It wasn't too dirty, so I did it dry. Sometimes when they have like a film on them, I'll put a little bit of Windex on the Q-tip, but I always try to make sure that it's just barely moist, because you don't want... Okay. I'm going to put this back together and see if the drive tray opens and closes, then put the disc in and see if it opens and closes, and we'll consider this fixed unless there more problems present themselves. Okay, here's a moment with no disc in it. Seems to be working okay. You know, the real question is this thing even going to read games? They didn't contract us about reading game discs. They contracted us about the drive tray not even opening. So, separate issue, I guess. Alright, I'm going to put a disc in. You know, their disc is still spinning in the machine, but I got a disc. Okay. Open. Alright. I can hear the laser going. It's spinning. But okay. I think I'll clean their lid as a courtesy and slap some screws on this, get it back together, and this job will be done. We'll be on to the next one. Okay, next on the workbench is a Nintendo 3DS XL, and the service slip says D-pad down, not working. Alright, let's investigate. Open up the system and access the conductive film pads and
I'll jump forward to that.
So once you have the system open, the D-pad is a modular part, which you can order those. And I actually have some on order right now. I ran out. But it doesn't matter. I mean, I get them from AliExpress for like, I don't know, $2, $2.50 a piece, something like that. And it certainly saves you time, and time is worth money. So that's why it's worth spending the money for me to get those versus what I'm going to do in this video since I don't have any in stock. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to repair that button, which you can do. And, you know, if you stumble across this video and you don't want to wait 2, 3, 4 weeks for something to come from China, and you don't want to pay the Amazon premium of like $8 or $9 for one of those, or whatever they go for on eBay, I didn't even check. You can right now open up your 3DS, pull this out, and repair your button. So those metal clicky buttons get dirty on the inside, and so you have to get in there, and they're held down around the edge of the metal plate with adhesive. And so I'm just using a surgical knife to try and get underneath that adhesive part so that I can pry that open. I suppose you could do this with a razor blade or any number of tools. And you can see that metal disc is dirty, and that's why it's not working. And I suppose there's probably a variety of ways to clean it, but the way I go about cleaning these, sometimes they're white and dirty, sometimes they're black and dirty. But the fiberglass cleaning tool removes it really quickly. And I'll usually scratch up the metal disc and the surface that it contacts, and every time that I clean them, they work properly afterwards, because the metal disc is just bridging a connection between contact points on the PCB. And so what happens is they get dirty, and then they don't bridge the connection properly. I don't even know, oxidation maybe, because they're sealed in there, so I don't know how they get dirty. But I've seen it plenty of times. I actually repaired several of these buttons on a device that I have around here where the buttons were getting too frustrating to press. And this type of button is a common button for tactile type of switches and buttons. They're the kind that create like a clicky feeling instead of using rubber membrane that gives it more of a soft feeling. I personally prefer the clicky feeling of these things. And so what I gotta do is just position it correctly, and the adhesive around that metal disc isn't gonna stick anymore. Depending on what kind of metal, disc button thing that you're trying to clean, some of them will stick back on properly. This one barely has enough adhesive as it was, and there's just no way that it's ever going to stay in place again without some tape. So that yellow tape that I have on the sides is Kapton tape. It sticks good, it's totally residue free, and it's super thin. I use it for all kinds of purposes, and I'm just going to use a narrow strip of it to tape that in place. I don't think that, Scotch tape, the stuff you get at the grocery store, would do a great job, but maybe it'd be better than nothing. I think Kapton tape is something everyone should have in their home, just laying around, because it truly is amazing. I'm gonna put that Kapton tape on there, and it's basically replacing the sticky part that was in place, and I see no reason that wouldn't just last forever until that button goes out again. I don't think it's gonna shift or anything like that. I think it's in position.
Okay, we got this back together. We got the game loaded. As long as that button pad is lined up and it's clean, it'll work. I need to get some more of those replacement D-pad modules in stock, but I don't see any problem with the success of this job because I taped the button in place, and what is around the button anyway, it's just adhesive, and what is tape, it's adhesive. So there's no reason that it shouldn't continue to work fine. It feels normal, and this job is done, so I'm going to move on to the next one. Next on the workbench is a controller for the Nintendo Switch. Paper says L3 Drift. That's the left stick. Almost dropped it. Simple to fix, got to get it open. I'm going to open it up and show you what I do board level, because I don't do disassembly videos, not really. I'll be back.
So with the controller open, I don't take the whole board completely out because that would be an unnecessary pain in the butt. And I also don't replace the whole stick unless it feels clunky. So I break free the sides there. I call them the access parts. I don't even know what they're supposed to be called, but here I'm going to put some cheap flux down, and I want to add in low melt solder. And that's going to allow me to release those without using a desoldering iron. I don't like desoldering irons. I have 2 of them, and I used to swear by them. And I feel like they cause a lot of frustration. And I mean, you could see here, I could skip the whole soldering iron for 30 seconds of work. I mean, I could do this as faster than it takes to turn on the desoldering iron and let it come to heat. And then the desoldering iron generally has trouble lifting pads. Not as much on Nintendo controllers, but definitely like on Xbox and PlayStation controllers. And so once I drop those parts out, then I just use desoldering wick to clear the holes. And this makes great tutorial for YouTube because most people don't have a desoldering iron. The desoldering gun by Hakko costs like $300 or something, and it certainly has its uses, but firing it up every time I want to drop 3 or 6 holes isn't even fast. And most people don't have one. Most people can get their hands on a soldering iron, though. Although I'll tell you that your budget soldering iron is probably a piece of crap compared to my expensive ones. And a novice is never going to get this done as easily as I make it look, because tools make light load of heavy work. And anyway, now I got that all cleaned up. I'm gonna put these replacement parts in. These are brand new. These black ones in particular I use for Nintendo Switch controllers. They're all different. I have ones I use for PlayStation controllers, ones I use for Xbox controllers, ones I use for Nintendo Switch controllers. And I'm here to tell you right now that the ones that you get for like Xbox or PlayStation are going to not work on the Nintendo Switch, and they're going to piss you off. And if you try to use these Nintendo Switch ones like on an Xbox controller, they'll work, but they don't work properly. They'll go dead zero, and they're awesome for calibrating, but then they will jump from like 10 to 25%. And when you're playing games that require, small finessed movements, that sort of thing will really piss you off. So it's important to use the right replacement parts for which type of controller that you're working on. What I was doing in the video there was kind of giving the joystick a roll test, because if it feels clunky at all, I want to replace the stick. But there's no reason to go through the effort of replacing the stick if it feels buttery smooth and it's just drifting, because the stick has multiple parts built into it. One is the axis controls that control that drift. There's a click button, and then there's like smooth movement type of parts in there. And so you just check the whole stick, and if it's fine and it's just drifting.
Now I put it back. And now I put it back together, and we have to calibrate it. Nintendo Switch, you have to calibrate. The beautiful thing is, Nintendo gives you calibration software right on the system. Okay, calibration was successful. The controller works perfectly, and it feels butter smooth. On to the next one. Okay, last thing on the workbench for today is a Nintendo Wii system. You turn it on, and the video output is just totally black. And some people wonder, why the heck would someone want to fix this? You could replace it for cheap. It's what my own employee said to me. Like, do you even want to work on it? And they said, it's our job to present an option. So you don't know how important the content that's on this device is to the customer. See, you can't transfer eShop downloads on here to another console, and frankly, if the screen is black, you can't transfer anything. Save game saves, your Mii character, any of that. And for someone looking for a nostalgic throwback, they want their system to work. And so we present the option, and the price to fix this was going to be the same as a full replacement bundle with the controller cords and everything. And customers, like, without even skipping a beat, says, yeah, I want to do it. I want to access my old content. And so that is important to people. You can't ever discount that. Frankly, it kind of annoys me when I'm dinking around on Facebook or something and I see people say, oh, I want to fix my Wii, and you get everyone chime in, oh, they're so cheap, just buy a replacement. Well, besides your content, I think it's a worthwhile endeavor to keep these things live. So no image in my mind is going to boil down to probably one of two things. It could be the wireless module came disconnected, where the system is just totally black if that happens. So we'll check that before doing a full teardown, because I don't actually like tearing all these things down. They're solid brick, and every wire has a particular path you gotta follow when putting them back together and all that, and I think it's annoying. So if that doesn't solve it, then we're going to get down to the board level and replace some capacitors. So I'm going to do a teardown on this. We'll be back. Okay, I finally got the motherboard out and we're going to replace this back row capacitors here. Let's jump under the scope.
So, with the board out, there are these 6 capacitors that I need to replace. 4 of them are the same, and the other 2 are different than each of them. And I keep a kit, written down the measurements of these and ordered them from Mauser. And I'm like ready to go for these things. Removing these, I just use hot air. It's kind of boring, so I'm going to speed it up. But anytime I'm heating up these type of capacitors, I'm always looking at them through a microscope, because these aluminum capacitors do have the possibility to explode. And I'm applying direct heat to them, and I've yet to have one explode, but I've heard of it exploding from other techs. And I'm not about to ever fry my eyeballs out over something like that. So anytime I'm removing these, I just always look at them through the microscope. And that way I keep my eyes safe. If it explodes, then my eyes are tucked away in the microscope. And I think that that's pretty smart. Here I'm wicking away all the original solder so that I can clean it up and add leaded solder. It's going to make the job a lot easier to install. And I think I'm going to speed up this. This part right here is sped up, and then when I install them, it's not sped up, but I think I'm going to do that. So this is all sped up, and what I do is I prep one side of the board with leaded solder for each of the capacitors. Because you can tell what I do here is I grab the capacitor with tweezers or my fingers, and then I just heat up the side that I've already soldered and let it flow in, and then I solder the other side because I don't have 3 hands. And so feeding solder wire in would be challenging for me to accomplish there. Anyways, these all solder in relatively smoothly. I flux and reflow them and then clean it up, and it turns out great. Okay, I got all the capacitors replaced. Now I got to go through the arduous process of putting it back together, and we'll see if it works. Okay, here we are. I got the everything except the top lid is back on, which is sufficient for testing in my book. So I got it rigged up to a channel. Let's give it some power. Okay. All right, let's press the power button. Okay. There it is. Excellent. You know, when you spend a long time on a repair and it all comes down to the moment of truth, even if you know what you're doing, you kind of cross your fingers. Let's see. I don't have a controller hooked up. I want to see what was important to this guy that he would rather get it fixed. Well, it's about midnight, which means it's my birthday. I always work on my birthday, but I didn't want to come in tomorrow. So it's good that I was here past midnight so that I could still claim that I worked on my birthday. This screen usually just takes a moment to get through. Anyways, this will be a long play of several repairs. This gives you an insight of what a day in the work life is here at my company. Oh, I see. They got downloaded content. I bet if I could scroll right, I'd see a bunch more. But look at that. Here, I'm going to give you... see? All the bright colors. This thing was totally black before. Usually I know replacing those capacitors is going to solve the problem when it's dark. I've actually never seen one so dark that it was just black.
But that said, I still had an idea. I mean, I could hear a little bit of audio when I turned it on. So apparently that's the fix. This guy has a finicky disk drive. I tried adjusting it. You have to like force the disk in. I can't replace the drive for free, so we'll have to advise them of that when they pick up and see how much they care. It does work. It does read games, but like it doesn't feed in smoothly. You have to like push it in. Something about the mechanism, not the roller. Anyways, if you watch this whole video, hopefully you got some entertainment value. Hopefully you learned something, and hopefully you'll like my video and comment and subscribe so that I will be motivated to make more content in the future. Appreciate you.